Welcome friends, welcome back to the hangar, welcome back to wintertime in Canada. As you can see, it's a little bit cold and snowy out here. Not too bad today. Nice bright sunny skies. Would be a great day for flying because the air would be so calm, and the cool air is just amazing to fly in. But the plane is still in the hangar. Today's episode is going to be all about getting the dynon system in for the final install, bundling up all of the wires inside, taking care of all of that mess behind the panel, and putting some of the control cables back on. So the throttle and the mixture cable, so that we can tie up loose ends under the cowl, get the cowl on, and hopefully by the end of this episode, we'll be able to push Mike Victor uniform out into the cold and start the engine for the first time in 6 months. It has been 6 months since we've run that engine. And I think that is another major milestone in this project, is get the engine running again, and then we can, in future episodes, really dig into setting up the dynon, doing all of the run-up tests and stuff, and making sure that this is a go. So let's head into the hangar and see what's been happening. Here in the hangar, it is all about checklists at this point. We have gotten down to the point where Chris has made checklists for each part of the aircraft, and we're going through each point, marking it off the checklist and making sure that it's complete, and then locking up that part of the airplane. In addition to all of the engine monitoring system, we also put on an engine preheating system, the Rife preheating system. So I put that on a couple of days ago. We tested it out. It works perfectly. And so just a little bit more about the Rife system. It's these bands here right at the base of each cylinder, and they connect by a wire. It goes down the backbone of the engine, comes over here to a plug that I'll be able to access from the oil door on the cowl. Also down here on the oil pan, you won't be able to see it because they're really hidden in the middle. There's two flat pads on the bottom of the oil pan. You plug this in. My heater in Oshawa is going to be unheated. Middle of winter, you saw it's cold outside. You need to get your engine temperature up to, opinions vary on the temperature, but I've been told that your engine block temperature should be between 10 and 12 degrees Celsius. Best practice, of course, best practice. So you plug this in. I'll be able to plug it in the hangar into a device that connects to my cell phone, so from home I can fire it on, let it heat up for a few hours, arrive at the hangar, and the engine will be preheated to the point where I can just fire it up and leave. That's the idea. So we put that in because that is, if you're going to fly in the north, that's one of those things you really should have, especially if you're in an unheated hangar. Now, the tail of the plane is all locked up. All of the inspection panels are back on, even though they're not polished. They're back on. We've closed this section out completely. We've made sure that all of the control surfaces are working correctly. They're all adjusted to within parameters. Everything is fine. So the aft section of this aircraft is now complete. We've closed it off. Everything is sealed up. This is done, which leaves pretty much at this point putting the interior back in to the extent that I'm going to put it in. There's some cosmetic details that aren't complete yet, but I'm just going to have to live with some panels that aren't quite right. They'll function, but they're not going to be the way I want them yet. And finishing off the panel. So here we are back in the inside of the aircraft. The dynon panel, as you saw in the last episode, went in, turned it on, fired up great. We tested it. We did a little bit of the setup process just to make sure that all of the components were talking to each other. And then obviously we've taken it back out. And at this point, now that we know that everything fits and everything works, the task is to take all of these wires and bundle them together in ways that everything behind the panel is neat and tidy. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what does it matter if it's neat and tidy? What does it really matter? Here's why it matters. This is part of the control yoke mechanism. And this piece behind the panel has to move forward and backwards unhindered. That is, for the people who don't fly, that's your steering mechanism. And so that has to move back and forward in order to move the parts at the back of the plane to make you go up or down, left or right, you know, steering. So everything back here has to be tidy. And that task will probably take me the rest of today to tidy it up, get everything bundled together, tied off, clear of the controls, and then put the computers back in and put down the floor and the rest of the interior parts. So those are my tasks today. Better get to work. So this is a seat restraint?
Secondary seat stop kit.
So it's, at some point, someone started to notice that Cessna seats would pop out of the track. There's these little holes here that hold it into the track. And on takeoff, when you're in a nose-up attitude, if it pops out and your seat starts to roll back, of course you're holding onto the yoke, which pulls the plane back more nose-up attitude. It goes horribly wrong. And so there's a whole bunch of workarounds for this, and often it's just a little piece of metal here that goes on the back of the track just to keep the seat from rolling back, and that's what was in the plane when we started. But at some point in the 70s?
This kit? No, this kit is from 2000 and I'm gonna say 5 or 6 or something like that.
Okay,
yeah.
So sometime in the early 2000s, this kit comes out, and it's essentially a seat belt. It's a seat belt for the seat on an inertial reel here, or a lock reel. And when you actuate the...
So we're locked now.
We're locked now, and then when you pull the handle to move the seat, it unlocks it.
So if the seat's not, if the pin is sitting between the holes or on the rail, the seat is locked, but as soon as you pull it up, it releases it.
Releases it.
So if you don't lock it in, or this clip fails one way or the other, you're all set. It's supposed to save lives. And well, for all the Cessna owners out there, if you don't have this, this part, so it used to be parts and labor credit, and now it's just a parts credit. And so you used to get them entirely for free installed and everything like that, and Cessna would pay me. Now Glen's got to pay my hourly, but Cessna will still give me the money for the parts. And it's, what did we say, about $1,800, $1,850 or something like that, Canadian?
Yeah.
So it's a worthwhile thing. Everyone should have one before they take the credit over.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling, because this is the first Cessna 172 I've ever been in that's had it.
Is it really?
Yeah.
The flight school guys don't have?
No.
Really? Wow. Huh.
It's all got that safety stop stuff behind that you have to...
behind, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Or they're so well installed you don't notice them.
That must be it. They're so well installed on the airplanes that I rent that I haven't noticed it yet. So we're safe. So we're down to putting the controls back in for the engine.
Yes.
Throttle, mixture, carb heat, and all of those things that have to pass.
Ancillary controls, they call them. So there are part brake, heat, cold. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything that has to go through the firewall from the control panel. And I'm insisting on reusing the old throttle.
Because there's so many hands have touched it.
It's probably not as good as a newer Vernier type.
But it's functional. Like, see, we got nice here, and if I can snug it, it locks up nicely. It's tough with my fingers, but yeah. It's a well-working cable, and Cessna talks about a linear play in it, and so what you do is lock it and then move it. We have 0 linear play. It's perfect.
So it works, but I did change the mixture control to a newer Vernier style. Vernier. So we put in a new mixture knob, and it's got the you spin it for fine tuning. Anyway, not such a big deal, but that means that we're getting closer.
So we would probably go underneath. You got that arrow there too. Well, maybe that was what that clamp was for. Clamp that thing. Over there. See, if I come over the top, my fix is in the right spot, but it's not.
And that's the
It's
mixture cable?
Mixture control, yeah. And so now if they come underneath it, like this, here. This, and then come up here, like that. That looks right. Right like that.
Well, that's what that shield under the oil pan was for, wasn't it?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
See, so that'll grab my clamp. Right, and then the clamp just sits in there nicely. So we've got some clearance here. I'll just back it up. Give it a little tie. Maybe I could even grab it with a clamp right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's gonna work. The throttle is just yeah, let me cut that to size. Okay. So that's that one. The throttle, I just gotta put.
So it's a mixture.
Yeah.
And the throttle's this one?
Yeah,
That
that's
one.
that guy. Yeah, and it gets so everything would have a fix and then a movement. Right?
Yep.
And so it's the fix. So the fix up here for the throttle. That's what I just need to figure out. It's right here. I just got to figure out the length of that bolt, and I can put the fix on, and then we just put the end on and connect it. It's really simple. The mixture, on the other hand, we're gonna have to peel back, to cut out, right?
Oh,
push
yeah.
the thing back through, grab it, and remember, like that's cut. This works on every plane, like every Cessna you have, pretty much.
That's the cable we've removed, or we replaced.
Yes.
So we've got to cut it to fit.
Yeah, it'll fit it up. And like it'll work on this model 172 right there, probably a brand new one.
So here we go. First start after what, 6 months?
Oh, not long. Two shots, I guess we'll do it.
So cancel it, that warning.
Okay, there we go.
So that was 2 blades to start that. That was.
It's got that new car smell.
Yeah. So I'm going to call it. First run up was fairly successful.
That was very successful. We got to turn up the idle just a little bit, but it's still running at 430 RPM. That's pretty good. And so let's see where we are for full power, see what this thing does. This might break us free. We'll see what we can do.
So there's enough snow on the ground and it's slippery enough that at full throttle you can't hold it still. So,
And when you go to the type certificate, we can check that number and see if that's within parameters for this particular engine for power output. But it sure sounds good. It did seem a little nicer. It did like a little bit leaner, but that's the cold air. It's kind of hard on it. And really right now we're running without a cowl, so everything's sort of sketchy.
Oh, not a drop, man.
So we're back in the hangar.
Yeah.
Chris said that this was reasonably successful.
Reasonably successful.
Reasonably successful. That's a good thing.
Yeah. There was indication of everything. The temperatures were a little lower, but we're outside and minus whatever engines run without a cowl off. We've got 0 leaks. The charge system came up exactly as planned. Oil pressure, we'll look into that a little bit. We think it might be the marks, but we can review it that way.
Yep.
No major problems. I think we developed some carb ice, and so we were a little rough toward the end.
We don't have the carb heat cable hooked up.
Yeah.
So we couldn't address it if it was carb ice, but that's probably what it was.
Yeah, I think so.
The conditions were right for
so
it.
next step will be to get the rest of the cables in. I'm going away. So when I come back, we'll have all the cables. We'll finish putting the cables in. Then we'll cowl it and run it, because now I know that we're not going to spray oil and we're not going to have some major fire under there. And so we can cowl it up and we can go out and give it a real serious run.
And then we can start calibrating fuel
Yeah.
tanks and
All that
and
stuff, yeah.
setting the compass.
Yeah. And the compass was off in that. Like we were off by, I figured about 12 degrees, 15 degrees.
Looked like that, yeah.
Something like that. So we can reset that. I got the tool for it. We're short strokes away now. Paperwork, we've got to weigh it. It's good. That was very, good note to leave on.
Okay, so come back and we will do the calibration. We'll do a full weight and balance and see how much
Lighter
lighter we are.
Every other guy in the world.
And we're hoping that we're in balance, which is a big thing. That's something you've mentioned a couple times.
Yeah, a couple times. A little concerned. So we've taken weight on here, but we've added it way the hell back there with the installation of the ELT and the magnetometer. And so I'm just wondering if we've taken more off and not quite think.
And
we'll find out about it. Worst case, we're running a little bit of ballast, but ballast is a giveaway. It's a give up. We would give up on weight for just making it level. But I think we're going to be okay. Because you justified that when we talked about it before, because we're moving mostly nearby to the center of gravity is where most of it happened.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Yeah, the dynon is way lighter than everything that we took out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
So thanks for watching. Please comment down below and let us know what you're thinking. And come on back and we'll keep moving on this project. But a big win today.